On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Hair of the Dog by Tankard. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal. We like to talk about it. And today we're going back to 1989 for a compilation album.
Best of, right.
From German thrash metal band Tankard, recognized as one of the Teutonic Big Four. Compilation album called Hair of the Dog, which features some of the best of from their first three albums: Zombie Attack from 1986, Chemical Invasion from 1987, and The Morning After from 1988.
Right.
And it's all about beer.
Well,
so we've got
almost.
some beer.
Yeah, we have some German beer.
There is a song about zombies in it.
There is. And aliens.
Oh, yes, and a song about aliens.
Yes.
But other than that, it's mostly about beer.
Right.
Most of their discography, in fact, is about beer. I didn't know that German people like beer.
Yeah, that's a surprise to me as well.
It's not something I've ever heard before, that German people enjoy beer.
No.
So we have some Weinstefaner. Supposedly the world's oldest brewery. Although I think that's one of those things that's kind of like England's oldest pub, where there are so many different qualifiers that you can append to something in order to be able to make that claim. I wonder if it's one of those things, because there's hundreds of different pubs in the UK that claim to be the oldest pub.
Sure.
But it's usually like, well, this pub is built on the site of what was supposedly a pub that was opened in 1310. Right. That burned down, 200 years later. And then a different pub was built. And then that one burned down. Right. And then another one was built. And then the Germans blew that one up in the war.
But it's still, yes.
But this pub's the ones that standing. It's the fucking castle from Monty Python.
It's like that hammer you own that you've had for 30 years.
Yeah,
and you've
the hammer of Theseus.
You have the hammer of Theseus. You've only replaced the handle 6 times and the head 4 times.
Exactly, but it's the same hammer.
It's the same hammer.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. I wonder if it's that sort of situation. At the very least, brewed under the purity law of 1516.
Indeed.
So,
and this is technically a premium Bavaricum.
I don't know how that word is meant to be pronounced, but the spelling is mildly unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. And especially for a beer that gives such good head.
These have not stopped foaming since the moment we opened them.
Right. I mean, they kind of have now.
They're starting to go flat. We don't know when these were bottled. Right. Because there was, in the words of David Lee Murphy, a little dust on the bottle.
Right.
When you got these, apparently.
Yeah, they were on a bottom shelf.
No one had bothered with these, apparently.
They're good. This is good.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if what other German beers I've seen. There's not a lot that I can think of. I think there's one that's usually around sometime around Oktoberfest that I think is German, but I can't remember. The box always has, a big boobed Oktoberfest.
Oh, you're talking about St. Pauli girl.
Yeah, with always there's always a busty lady in a dirndl. On the box of the 6-pack.
Gosh, I haven't seen St. Pauli girl in a long time.
Yeah, I think I brought it to the podcast one time when we used to drink beer regularly. But then of course there's Sam Adams Oktoberfest, but that's made in Boston, so it doesn't count.
Well, St. Pauli girl's made in Minnesota,
I suppose. But at the very least, it's got the German iconography on it.
It does. It's a Minnesota cum.
Oh boy. How are you?
I'm doing great.
That's good.
Did I And had I already? Yeah, I already bought the car the last time we talked.
Yeah, we were talking about the car a little bit last time. How's the first week with the car been?
It's been great.
It's been unremarkable.
No.
It's a car that drives and it works and nothing's exploded and it starts regularly.
Yeah,
all things a car should do. Therefore, it's been wonderful.
It does. It's very simple. It doesn't have a whole lot of moving, the extra moving parts that I had with my Volkswagen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just get in and you don't need to use a key with it as long as you have the keys in your pocket.
That's always keyless start, like just having the fob. Something about that is weird to me. I don't know. Keyless entry and keyless start.
Yeah,
something about it. My brain is like, I don't like, because what if it doesn't work and you need to get into your car?
Yeah, but it always works. I think that they've perfected it now. They've got to the point where it works.
I suppose they have, but something in my brain will always be like, need metal thing to go into metal thing and turn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the world's weirdest 28-year-old.
Yeah, you're a 28-year-old baby boomer.
Me, my vinyl records.
Yeah. And it must start with key.
Must physical. Must have physical interaction.
Yeah, we know you're liking that.
But yeah, I'm glad that the car is actually working out for you.
Working very well, and it was rainy today, and I'm driving around, and there wasn't even a hint of slipping because it's got that all-wheel drive.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All-wheel drive.
And I used to wonder, and I don't wonder anymore. Mm-hmm. That mystery's been exploded for me forever.
Okay.
It's got four wheels. Why don't they just call it four-wheel drive? Because that's what it is. And now I realize it's not about the number of wheels. It's about the utility of the thing itself.
Yeah.
Because if you got four-wheel drive, it's like, hey, let's go off-roading. Can you pull my car out of the ditch? Want to climb that rocky hill? Mm-hmm. My Honda will never do any of those things.
Do you know mechanically what the difference between four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive is?
I think, yeah. I mean, one is meant to go in rough conditions, and one just means that all the wheels are engaged.
I thought maybe I understand. I understand, like, four-wheel drive is more capable. I was wondering if, like, in mechanical terms of like, well, this thing has the thing, but
no, all-wheel drive belongs on an HRV.
Yeah. Of like, I don't know how. You could have told me anything. You could have said like you see the differential gear locks into the thing, and I would have been like, oh yeah, that sounds right. It sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
No, I don't really.
But yeah, I got my. I feel like having a front wheel drive in North Dakota is like a poor choice, but it's
better than a rear wheel drive,
I suppose. Yeah. But my little Toyota, it just keeps chugging.
Yeah. Things live forever.
Yeah. I'm endlessly pleased with that. Mm-hmm. I did see something that made me feel or hear something.
Yeah.
I think on the news yesterday while I was at the remote, talking about how Americans are keeping their cars for longer.
Yes, they are.
And I was like, yeah, that's me.
13 and a half years.
That's me. I'm that guy keeping my car for that long. But yeah, I don't see any real reason to get rid of it just yet.
I went on a fire truck ride today.
You went on a fire truck ride?
Did I not tell you about that?
No. Why'd you go on a fire truck ride?
Okay, so somebody's daughter won a ride on a fire truck. It was a sort of a put your name in the to hang for a drawing and come to our car lot and check out our thing.
Yeah.
And she won. And so her mom was like, cool, we can go on a fire truck this week. And she's like, I want to go with OJ. And
I don't want to go with you.
You want to go with someone fun. And it was kind of it was a little bittersweet.
Okay.
Because she was done with school for the year today at noon.
Yeah.
I picked her. Hey, we're gonna go get fire truck. It's gonna be fun. And she was weeping, openly weeping because, my friends are going to different schools next year. And I'm not going to ever see them again. And she was latching on to me like, not yet, but fire truck.
But hey, look, look over here.
Yeah. And so we got on the fire truck and she was just moping the whole time.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, hey, look, check it out. We're high up. You can see over the bridge. And it's like, he's going to honk the thing. Yay. Why are you still crying?
Oh no! So when they get too old and you can't do the thing that you do with babies and toddlers where they're upset about something and you're just like, look at this, and then suddenly they're like, oh, I forgot about it. Just completely forgot about whatever it was they were upset about.
Right.
Then you can't do that. The brain has developed too much.
Yeah. Well, we both did get a badge.
Nice.
I have my junior firefighter's badge now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You should have. You should represent the fire department at the blood drive that we were broadcasting from this week. Now that you're a junior firefighter.
I did find out that I'm a universal. What's the water part of the blood? Plasma. I'm a universal plasma donor.
Interesting.
Yeah, they want my plasma. They don't want any other part of my blood because
they want the plasma.
They want the plasma. The plasma is really good. It's delicious, apparently.
The vampires really like it.
Yeah.
It's a nice little treat.
I really wish you would have said that at some point during the broadcast. All of this blood, it's not very shelf stable, so we're going to drink it all here.
We're going to, it's important. Like, you probably know it. You probably know a vampire. Maybe you don't know that you know a vampire, but they need blood too. And it's probably, blood drives like this are important because that means that they're not going out there, into the world at night and preying upon people and potentially killing them or turning them into other vampires. Right. This is a safe, ethical way for them to get what they need.
I saw a breakdown of that at one point. Somebody determined the nutritional value of blood and realized that man, vampires really wouldn't get by on this shit.
Yeah, well, they also are literally not alive.
Right. They're magical creatures.
They can they can get away with that.
Right.
But if you're going with the there's a couple different franchises or settings that go with the sort of science fiction biological explanation for something that's close to a vampire.
Right.
And do away with the idea that they're purely supernatural beings.
And then it kind of breaks down. I can often take the magical explanation over the over the poorly.
It makes more sense,
right? Just tell me it's magic.
Just tell me it's magic. Some reason on Instagram I keep seeing clips from the show The Strain, which was an adaptation of a book that was at least co-written, or a series of books that was co-written by Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, neat.
Which I didn't know about, but it's about a outbreak of this parasite that turns people into vampires, essentially.
Neat.
That was a show on FX, I think, it had 3 seasons or something like that. And so I see Guillermo del Toro attached to it, and I'm like, I kind of want to watch this.
Right.
I'll give that a shot.
I don't know if I've ever seen anything that he was attached to that was bad.
I have seen. I wasn't particularly fond of the movie Crimson Peak.
I didn't see it.
It wasn't bad. It just wasn't particularly good. This was also coming off of the heels of Pacific Rim. It was his movie. There might have been one other in between there, but it was to my memory, it was the movie between Pacific Rim and Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Which you have Pacific Rim, which is just nonstop, constant fun and awesomeness.
Just candy is all that. Yeah.
It's just it's cinematic candy. And then you have Shape of Water, which is
an Oscar-winning movie.
Yeah, fucking Best Picture winning.
Right.
I feel like for the most part, Del Toro has 2 modes. One is nerd candy that's just fun, just gorgeous, amazing visuals and whatnot, but still, it's there to be fun and cool. That's your Hellboys, that's your Pacific Rims. And then you have your incredible, insane, amazing fantasy, Oscar winners like Pan's Labyrinth and Shape of Water and whatnot. But
and Crimson Peak didn't fit into either of those
it
categories?
didn't really fit into either of those categories. It kind of felt like I don't. It's been a while since I've seen it, but there was some really cool makeup effects in there, you know, as one would expect from a Del Toro movie. But I think maybe the thing is that it was too minimal of a Chuck Jones presence. Not Chuck Jones, Doug Jones,
the cartoonist Chuck Jones.
I think Chuck Jones is David Bowie's son. That directed the Warcraft movie. I might be wrong about that. It's some Duncan Jones. That's Duncan Jones. Yeah. Too many Joneses. Yeah. Who are all these Joneses?
And we can't keep up with them.
And their son Dow.
Yeah.
Who names their kid Dow
Jones? Yeah.
And why does he always average industries?
He's just an average guy.
But
he's industrial though.
Yeah. I suppose Doug Jones isn't in Pacific Rim either, but I don't know. I don't know what he would have played in Pacific Rim. He could have done mocap for one of the kaiju, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say he was one of the kaiju.
That was actually really convincing makeup. It was really convincing prosthetic makeup.
I still have pictures with me and Doug.
I remember. I mean, I think that's my favorite interview that I've ever done at work.
Yeah.
is Doug Jones, because it was morning for us.
Yeah,
he's in L.A. It was like 6 a.m,
right?
And he was perfectly happy to be talking.
He's like a regular dude.
Yeah, it's extremely nice guy. Really, really affable. Really nice to talk to. You know, talked about so many different movies and Star Trek and all that. Like it's a wonderful conversation.
I think maybe he's in the habit of having a good personality and being very likable, because he's aware that should someone want to, they could snap him in half.
He's a very tall, very thin man.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think also for him, and I think we talked about this before I started recording for that interview. It's like, sorry, it's so early for you. And he's like, hey, I'm pretty used to getting up very early in the morning, so don't worry about it, because
you got to put the makeup or whatever on.
Lots of very early mornings on shooting days, putting all the prosthetic makeup on and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that was I think for the rest of my career probably will be on my mind when it comes to interviews that I really enjoyed, because a lot of times, even if people are really nice and it's a pleasant interview, I'm always so nervous and feeling unprepared no matter how much reading I've done.
Right.
But that one was just great. It was really good. It was really good. Couple of things have been announced today, because I'm going to talk about Warhammer for a little bit. So everybody brace yourselves.
I'll be right back.
There's an event going on today called Skulls, which is like a press conference sort of thing that Games Workshop does for different Warhammer stuff. And they made a whole bunch of different announcements about different video games that I was really excited to hear. There's more news about Space Marine 2, which is coming out in September. They announced a competitive multiplayer mode, which I'm excited about, because the first one had that and I never got a chance to play it, and apparently it was really fun. So they're kind of bringing that back. And then they announced Mechanicus 2.
Nice.
So the original Mechanicus was a turn-based squad strategy game, like an XCOM or something like that.
Right.
And it was really fun and had a absolutely killer soundtrack. The soundtrack is amazing, and the same composer is doing the second one, and there was a little snippet in the trailer that just oh yes, give me more techno church music. And also in the this new one, you can play as the Necrons as well as the tech priests. So
nice.
that'll be kind of interesting. And then for Rogue Trader, they announced a DLC is coming out. They're adding storyline of stuff happening in the bowels of your ship. There's like a gene stealer cult that you need to sort of fight and contend with, because the ship is the ship that you have is not even particularly big by Warhammer standards, but there are still several thousand people that live on it. There are like clans of families and small microcultures that inhabit the lower decks of this ship. And so that's a thing that you interact with a little bit in the original storyline, and they're adding more to that. They're adding a new companion who's romanceable. And she's a death cult assassin. Nice. Which is they adding yet another murderous psychopath to the roster of your companions. Which is interesting. That little bit of lore has always been interesting to me, because there are two kinds of like death cult assassins. There are ones who are like barely disguised chaos worshippers who claim they're like, oh, we're, committing these human sacrifices and murdering these people in the name of the emperor. Don't worry. And then there are the ones who actually are doing that, where they're so fanatically devoted to the emperor that they will hunt people down in very serial killer like manners. So that's kind of neat. But I'm excited about all of that. I don't know when I'll get around to playing Rogue Trader again. Probably not for a while.
You said you didn't recommend hitting that one right away.
I mean, it's probably in a fairly good state now. When specifically for you, when you were asking about it, because you'll be on console, and I do not know how that game, how stable it is on console. I really don't know. And I don't know what your tolerance is for jank either. Like,
I have a pretty good tolerance for jank.
Okay. This beer is making me very sweaty, and it's making my nose itch.
I wonder why. Are you allergic? I'm actually kind of itchy and sweaty. I don't know if it's the beer.
I don't know.
Or if it's just the room, or is it just the temperature?
It should be relatively comfortable in here. It's a cold day outside, and I haven't, I don't have the heat on or anything like that. But I'm starting to sweat like a har in charch. Excited about that stuff. Shall we talk about Tankard?
Let's talk about Tankard.
So I don't know a whole lot about Tankard, other than they're a thrash metal band from Germany. They love beer, and they've been around since about 1984 or so. And they've been mostly for pretty much their entire career been singing about beer.
Yeah, and they just put out an album in 2022, and they're still doing it.
So on this compilation album, we have, as I mentioned, songs from Zombie Attack, Chemical Invasion, and The Morning After. Their albums later on would have The Meaning of Life in 1990, Stone Cold Sober in 1992, Two-Faced in 94, The Tankard in 95, Disco Destroyer in 98, Kings of Beer in 2000, B-Day in 2002, Beast of Bourbon in 2004, The Beauty and the Beer in 2006, Thirst in 2008, Vol, VOL parenthesis L parenthesis Hume 14. I don't know what that means. It's probably some German pun.
Yeah. It's funny if you speak German.
Yeah. A Girl Called Cerveza in 2012. RIB, which I presume must mean rest in beer, in 2014. One Foot in the Grave in 2017. And Pavlov's Dogs in 2022. These are some guys who like to have fun. And they have made their music fun, seemingly throughout their career, never really taking themselves all that seriously.
And never expecting you to.
Yeah. And I enjoy that. I like that about them. You know, just like, we're going to sing about aliens and zombies and beer.
Oh my.
And that's kind of all I really know about them.
I mean, there really isn't much to know about them.
I don't think there really is.
They're just, German dudes.
Yeah. It started out when they were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
There are only 2 founding members of the band left at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Andreas Jeremiah and Frank Thorwarth, or Thorvarth, probably.
Torvarth.
Torvarth.
Yeah.
At this time, when this compilation was made, it also would have included Oliver Werner and Axel Katzman and Andy Bulgropoulos. That were in the band at the time. The lineup has sort of changed over the years, but that's what was going on at the time.
I mean, that's what happens when band members drop away due to cirrhosis.
From drinking too much beer.
Yeah.
What's your history with Tankard?
Honestly, this is basically it. I mean, I had this on cassette and I'm like, wow, this is juvenile. Mind you, I was 15 when I got this.
You were already like...
I'm like, this is pretty juvenile.
But it's fun.
I'm having a great time. I listen to this over and over. And at the time, I don't think I even realized, even though it said it right on there, the best of Tankard.
Yeah.
It didn't dawn on me that
it was a compilation album.
Right.
My nose is just so itchy.
You really think it's the beer doing it to you?
I don't have any other explanation.
Might be. I mean,
it didn't start itching until I started drinking the beer.
I mean, this is made under the German purity laws
of 1516.
Well, it wasn't made in 1516.
I know, but that's what made under the laws of 1516.
All right, it can only have...
How pure could they have been?
Well,
they didn't know what fucking germs were. They didn't know about allergies. He died when he got stung by a bee. I wonder why. Yeah, he just fucking sucked. It's too weak.
But they knew about... No, they wouldn't have known about yeast yet, would they have? Or they would have had some idea.
They would have known about yeast.
Right, because they knew how to make bread and shit.
Yeah, I feel like they had some understanding of like, oh, we take this. They didn't know necessarily that yeast was bacteria, but they knew probably knew how to produce it on its own and what to put it in.
Right. So the laws state that, and in fact, I think it's still in effect in Germany now, that if you make a beer in Germany, it can only have 4 ingredients. That's water, yeast, a sugar, and I can't remember what the other thing is.
Hops?
Hops, that's it. Hops.
So if you want to make a beer that has something else in it, it cannot be legally called beer.
It beer, right?
Interesting.
In Germany.
I wonder what they would call it instead.
Shit.
Bullshit. That we will refuse to drink.
How do you say fruity bullshit in German?
Fruity bullshit. The words are all the same.
Sure.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things where the words are the same. It's just the accent.
You just have to say with the accent so it makes sense.
It's like shoe.
Shoe.
Shoe in German is just shoe. You almost did a spit take.
I did, almost.
I think in German it's spelled S-H-U-E.
Right.
But yeah, it's literally just shoe. Anyway.
Put on your shoe!
Putzen on the shoe.
Putzen on the shoe.
Put on das Boot.
You want me to put on a submarine?
I want to watch it. No, put it on the TV. I want to watch it. It's my favorite movie. I'm killing you. You're gonna die.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for finally getting it done.
Yeah. I mean, if it was gonna be anyone,
yeah,
it might as well be me. Do you think this album slaps?
Yeah, it slaps.
Yeah, or this compilation album, I guess.
It's still an album. You really don't see shit like that anymore, do you? You don't see a whole lot of best of or compilations.
Not really, no, unless it's for like a big household name like classic rock band that's been around for a while. Like, a new best of album that you can get if you want to download an album. Like, I feel like the main reason why that doesn't happen anymore is
everything's digital. Yeah,
if you want to hear their best songs, you can just pick them out.
Right. Whereas
from
before,
the discography.
When this came out, you had to go to a store and buy a thing.
Yeah. If you don't want to buy 3 separate albums for these specific songs, here they all are in one cassette tape.
Right.
For the price of one cassette tape, you could get the best of for the Tankard.
$9.99 at your local Sam Goody.
Speaking of like music stores, record stores, I went to the record store on Saturday. One? Yes, that one on your sweatshirt.
Yeah,
I went to the record store with my buddy and former roommate Leaf.
Oh,
who's in town. We had breakfast at Ebenezer's.
Cool.
And then walked around, and we went to the game store, and then we went to the record store. And I got 2 albums. I got Deaf Heaven's Infinite Granite,
sure,
which I didn't have on vinyl yet.
No.
And the moment I saw it, I was like, oh shit,
must have,
gotta have that. And then the latest Swallow the Sun record.
Oh sure,
also got that as well. Because we were like walking, we were walking around downtown. I was like, oh well, let's walk to the record store and see. And I saw our old coworker Jeff. Was there,
whose birthday it was yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Jeff. Because he totally listens.
Yeah. 61-year-old guy.
But ran into him and then, started, looking through records and whatnot. And couldn't find, I wasn't finding anything. And then I found a Dark Throne record that I don't think I've listened to, but it was just like, it's Dark Throne. I like Dark Throne well enough.
Black metal.
Let's take this. And then I found those other 2, and I was like, I'm gonna put the Dark Throne back so I don't spend more than $100.
I don't have a record player. I don't own one. Or a stereo.
You get one.
All right. Okay. All right.
I don't know. I can't remember how much the one that I have is. $120 is popping into my head for the record player that I have. I don't know. I don't know if that sounds right. It sounds right to me. And then I don't remember how much these speakers that I have were, because it's the same models in here as I have out in my living room.
Gotcha.
Little Mackies.
I have some good speakers in the basement of my ex-wife's house that were given to me by a retired meteorologist.
Tom?
Yeah.
Are they nice speakers?
Yeah, they're studio quality speakers.
Awesome.
But they're just sitting there attached to nothing.
You should go get them.
And then keep them attached to nothing because I have nothing to attach them to.
I don't know. Then get a record player.
Okay.
Then attach them to your record player and get some records.
If you get a record player, you still have to get like an amplifier, right, of some kind, probably.
It depends on if the speakers need an amplifier, then you will need to get one.
Well, then they don't have a plug-in, so.
Well, I don't know.
So I need to get a record player, an amplifier. Probably need to get some stands because if I put those speakers right on the floor, it's going to piss off Amanda.
I suppose. These ones that I got, they don't need an amplifier, but also they're little.
Right.
They're self-powered. They're powered speakers. You just plug them in to the wall.
Right.
And they're good to go. Anyway, Tankard. Since this is a compilation album, scores were not really the sort of thing that I could track down and figure out. Also, it's a German band, and this was released in 1989, so I don't know what even would have been available necessarily. But what's your favorite song on this compilation? I
feel like the one piece on here that crystallizes the musical je ne sais quoi of Tankard would definitely be shit-faced. I think it's yeah.
Shit-faced.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the one that really defines the band on here.
I would agree that it's probably a pretty what is going on with my fucking phone right now?
Either shit-faced or commandment.
My phone's being weird. The touch screen. I need to get a new phone.
You need to get a new phone, dude.
It's.
I'm sure you'll walk in there and your phone will disintegrate it at the whatever.
My favorite. I nothing really jumped out to me. I was like, this song. I love this song. So I listened through. I didn't touch anything, and a song just started playing. The one that I eventually chose to be my favorite is Alien.
Oh, sure. Good song.
It's a good song. I enjoy it. I like the, good riffs. The thing is they're all equally fun and equally kind of silly to me.
Right. And they know they're silly.
Yeah, they absolutely. No, that's not a
detraction.
A detraction by any means. They're fun. They're silly. They're enjoyable. So
I like the song Commandments because the refrain found in there is just drink a beer.
Just drink a beer.
It's telling you, don't worry about the rules. Don't worry about what your mom and dad or the church or anything like that are telling you.
Just drink a beer.
Just drink a beer.
One of the things that I thought was kind of interesting on this album is the vocal styles. I feel like are kind of on the harsher end of thrash metal at the time.
Yeah.
They're on the kind of on the more abrasive end, on the closing in on early death metal vocals.
Right.
As far as like transitioning from, what I would call like yelled vocals in a lot of earlier thrash metal towards something more screamed or growled. They close in on like Chuck Schuldiner territory at times,
right?
Which I thought was kind of interesting.
Chuck Schuldiner, I think, at the time in Germany, I think the most popular of the German thrash metal bands was, I think, Creator. You probably say,
that sounds accurate to me from what I know.
And Miller kind of does that sort of.
That same kind of thing.
Yeah. Miller Petrosa.
It's a very German sounding name.
He's spaghetti German.
I mean, the Holy Roman Empire, which most people think of as being German, did include most of northern Italy for a very long period of its existence. Anyway, enough about the Holy Roman Empire. I feel like I say that so many times a day. Enough about the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah,
that's my Roman Empire. Is I don't think about the Roman Empire, at least once a day, the way that seemingly most men do.
I don't.
No, I think about the Holy Roman Empire.
The Holy Roman Empire.
And also I think about the Roman Empire
because of your extreme piety.
Yeah. I genuinely am one of those people where I think about like the Roman Empire at least once a day. I think I don't know why. I just am. There are so many things though that I think about at least once a day. Right. Of like, stupid historical stuff.
It's not because you're just a dude and that's what dudes think about. It's because you're fucking nuts. That's what the problem is.
Because I'm insane. Because I'm clinically insane, and I'm a clinically insane nerd who is just always thinking about stuff that has nothing to do with anything that I'm trying to do. But if I didn't think about stuff that had no bearing on the present day, I would be utterly miserable. I feel like if I only ever thought about the real world and what was happening, and had no flights of fantasy about history or fantasy or science fiction, life would suck for me. Anyway, Tankard. Let's drink a beer instead of thinking about all of that stuff.
You're getting head again.
Yep. Middle of the podcast.
There you go.
These are like you have the fact that they are continuously foaming means that you every 30 seconds or so you kind of have to take a sip,
right?
In order to keep it from foaming over.
And the foam is tasty. It's a tasty foam.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's good. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. What medal do you bestow upon this compilation? Like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca.
I mean, it's a solid silver.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would call this a silver as well. I enjoyed it. By no means did I have a bad time with it, but I'm not clamoring for more.
Right. I hadn't heard it in a long time, and I listened to it. I went, "Oh yeah,
this is what this is.
This is what this is.
It's exactly what it says on the tin."
Yeah.
So next week, I knew from the moment I saw it. For once, I actually knew what we were going to listen to this week.
Cool.
It popped up on my Spotify and I was like, yes, I don't have to look for something. Brand new album, Dark Superstition by Gate Creeper.
Yes. And I remember you didn't care much for Gate Creeper at first.
I mean, they've really grown on me. I think their EP that they put out that had a bunch of grindcore songs and then a Death Doom song on it, where they showed off the range that they are capable of. You ever have this thing where maybe you meet a woman and you're like, oh, she's fine. Not you don't find them particularly attractive or anything like that. And then one day you see them all dressed up and they've got their makeup on and you're like, oh my God, they look really good. They look really attractive. And then from that moment forward, they are attractive to you regardless of what they're wearing.
She could be taking a shit.
Yeah.
Right
now. You don't need to see them dolled up. Just like something like Unlocked. That's what that EP was for me with Gate Creeper, of just like, now it's a key has turned, something has been, a door has been opened, and now I get what they're about. I know what they're capable of. And for some reason, even stuff where they're not doing that has been made more enjoyable to me. And from what I've listened to of Dark Superstition, I haven't listened to it all the way through yet, but I feel like I've listened to most of it. They definitely incorporate some of the elements that I really liked about that EP, of bringing in a little bit more melody into the mix.
Yeah.
They're not quite as simplistic kind of meat and potatoes, really HM2 driven death metal sound. They're bringing in a little bit more variety, and I think they pull it off very well. So I'm very excited to listen to it all the way through and talk about it next week.
Okay.
With you. Because it's brand new. Speaking of something else that's brand new, that we talked about
briefly
before we started the podcast.
Our dear friend Hannah is the one who reminded us of it.
Yes. The people in Electric Callboy teamed up with Baby Metal for a single, and it's glorious. It's so good. Like, I never would have expected the two of them to collaborate. Like, it's just not a thing that I would have considered as a possibility of it would never have popped into my head. But then the moment I saw it, I was like, oh, of course.
Yeah, you totally wouldn't think that people from Germany and people from Japan would have some kind of commonality. It's like there's some kind of an axis.
Oh no. But anyway, yeah, like it's something that wouldn't have occurred to me as like a possibility of those two groups collaborating. But then the moment I saw like Baby Metal and Electric Callboy, I was like, oh, of course, that's going to be amazing. Yeah. And then I listened to it and watched the music video, and it was amazing.
Indeed. It
was really good. I can't remember the name of the song.
Ratatata.
Ratatata.
Yeah.
So go ahead and seek that out if you want to have, for a good time.
Yeah, cool.
Type in Ratatata.
Yeah.
To Google, and it'll probably come up. It's a lot of fun.
Yes.
But that's going to do it for us for this week. I feel like kind of a short episode.
Was it?
A little bit.
Oh,
we're in the 40 to 50 mark here.
It's hot and itchy in here.
Yeah, it's like I want to get it over with so I can figure out what's going on with my body right now. Why am I feeling this way?
Got any calamine lotion?
I need to put some anti-itch cream on my nose. Yeah, that'll do it for us for this week. Thank you very much for listening. Go ahead and follow our social media pages on Facebook or on the website formerly known as Twitter. Otherwise, just subscribe to our podcast feed on whatever service you're using to listen to us.
Yes.
So until you hear from us next week, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.
Actual
that was-
bottles. That was kind of.
That was
Again.
that was
Better, but
not
great.
any more resonant.
No, interesting.
We used to have glasses was the thing.
Yeah.
We would pour the beer into glasses.
Right.